Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Dylan Talk Sports. My name is Dylan. What I'm going to be doing in this video is we're going to be recapping week 6 of the NFL season, kind of going through each and every game of kind of what my thoughts were, how the game went, what my opinion is kind of about each team, and kind of the future going forward for each team's future. I try to keep it to about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, but sometimes I go overboard. I'm not going to say much. Let's go ahead and get right into this. So as always, if you're going to enjoy, make sure you do drop a like. If you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we got the Broncos and the Chiefs. Pretty mid-game, kind of boring game. Broncos coming into the game, we kind of thought maybe they'll be able to bounce back. They're having a rough season already. So far, they're 1-5. Their defense is pure, livid dog shit. And throughout the season, Russell Wilson has been slowly kind of progressing and getting better. And this game, he threw 2 picks, 95 yards. That is not a good sign. Their defense did have a little bit of a bounce-back game. They held the Chiefs kind of, not really like, they didn't really shut them down in the red zone, but they held them in check. It felt like the Chiefs were able to just move the ball right down the field, but when they got to the red zone, the Broncos defense kind of stepped up. With the Chiefs, like I said, the Chiefs defense, obviously, I mean, you can see 2 picks on the Russell Wilson. They barely ran the ball that much. Throwing the ball was MIA. Chiefs defense did their thing. Chiefs offense, I mean, they did enough to win the game. Going forward, I think the Chiefs are fine. They're going to be good to go. Broncos, do we dare talk about firing Sean Payton halfway through the season? Next up, we got the Commanders and the Falcons. This was actually a pretty good game. Coming into the game, I thought the Commanders had a shot to win. I forget who I picked to win this game, but Falcons, they had the game in the bag. Commanders defense was not playing that good. You're going to look at the 3 interceptions for Ritter and be like, what do you mean they weren't playing good? 3 picks. Yeah, but some of those picks, they were not like easy picks to, or they were not like hard picks, I mean, to get. They were very easy picks because a lot of times the pick to the back of the end zone, very easy for the corner to just jump in front of it. I believe the last pick he threw at the end of the game, it was literally the linebacker or the corner was literally standing right there in front of the receiver, and Desmond Ritter just threw it right to him. All in all, throughout the entire game, Commanders' offense was pretty mid, if you ask me. The picks by Ritter was pretty much setting up the Commanders in good field position the entire game. Commanders, they didn't really run the ball that well. I mean, throwing the ball, they were kind of mid. Like, I mean, you can see the stat line here, 14-23, 151 yards. There was a couple of throws Sam Howell made that were some pretty nice throws. Terry McLaurin, he went off. Drake London for the Falcons, he went off. Like I said, Falcons could have easily won this game if Ritter would have stopped turning the ball over. Going forward, the Falcons, I think they're still fine. I mean, they're 3-3, but they're in a division with the Buccaneers. You have the Buccaneers that are currently, I believe, 3-2. The Panthers, who are like 0-6. And the Saints, I also believe, are like 3-3. So the division is anybody's game still. And then with the Commanders, they're 3-3 right now. They start off 0-2. Then they went 2-3. Now they're 3-3. The Eagles and the Cowboys, they are pretty much the 2 teams competing to win that division. Commanders are not going to win the division. Do they have a slight shot? You could dream of it, but I think the Commanders are solely focused on the wild card, and they do have a shot. Next up, we got the Seahawks and the Bengals. This was a good game in the first half. Second half, I fell asleep. I mean, it's like in the first half, touchdown, touchdown, down the field, moving the ball, running the ball, throwing the ball, everything was working. But then it's like in the second half, the defenses showed up. A lot of people are starting to say, you got to fear the Bengals. They might be back now. Joe Burrow's looking better. He's looking better, but he's not looking like himself. The Bengals still clearly can't throw the ball or run the ball. If they could run the ball better, it would help out Joe a little bit. The one thing that hurt the Seahawks a lot in this game, and you can see the stat line, 2 picks. You're not going to, especially the game, I guess you could say game-ending pick that he threw, that one hurt. I didn't really care who won this game. It was more of just like a fun game to watch from the first half perspective, and then the second half, I think everybody just kind of left and was turned the game back on when there was like 4 minutes to go, and the Seahawks were trying to drive down the field, and then Geno threw that pick, and it was basically a wrap. Going forward, I mean, the Bengals, they look good right now-ish. The AFC North is anybody's game to win. And the Seahawks, I mean, wild card is still on their mind, and I think they can become a wild card team. Oh, this was my favorite game of the week. 49ers and Browns. If you want to see a full kind of breakdown of this game, right there at the annotation, go check out the video there. I did a full breakdown of me being a Browns fan, kind of breaking down the entire game in my POV of kind of how the game went. But it was a really good game. Browns defense showed up. 49ers defense was there, but you're playing PJ Walker. The Browns had a backup quarterback playing. PJ Walker, he did his thing. He played good. Browns ran the ball. That was very efficient. The one thing that did kind of hurt the 49ers was Deebo Samuel and Chris McCaffrey both went out. That hurt them a little bit. But kind of a moral story of the game, the Browns defense is fucking legit. If the Browns defense didn't play that good, the Browns had no shot. And then ultimately to wrap up the game, Browns drove down the field. They got the field goal with like a minute 30. Yeah, minute 40 to go. And, I mean, 49ers, they got the ball back. They started driving. They could have been shut down a couple times during that drive, but they drove right down the field. My heart was pumping, and somehow Jake Moody shanked the kick. Going forward, I'm seeing some people, more dumb people, saying the 49ers season is in jeopardy now with this loss. They're fine. They are literally a kick away from being 6-0, and y'all not even having these discussions. They're fine. I still think they're the best team in the NFL right now. And then when it comes to the Browns, I'm not going to get overexcited because of a win. It's cool, but a loss can come just as fast as a win. And I think their season is looking good. It all just kind of depends on still that offense. The defense is playing Super Bowl talent. Can the offense get on that level? Next up, we got the London game. It was a fun game. Ravens, Titans. I actually didn't even wake up till like a half hour after the game started. It was a kind of a mid to average game in the first half. It was a field goal battle. Then Tannehill started throwing his usual picks. Lamar, he was trying to do his things. The Ravens receivers actually seemed like they could catch the ball today. The news is Tannehill has an injury. I think he was just benched in that game because he was playing god-awful. The second he went down, it seemed like the Titans pretty much just gave up. Malik Willis went in the game. He didn't really do much to kind of give the Titans life. They did have some kind of, I wouldn't say life, but they had some excitement there at the end of the game. I'm going to be completely honest, and I've said this already since the beginning of the season. I think the Titans, they already knew they weren't going to be good this year. The Titans, if they want any shot of a future, they need to go into rebuild mode. I'm hearing that they might be trading Derrick Henry. That could be exciting for some teams on the trade deadline. Tannehill, if he's hurt, I would just sit him now and just tank the season. Going forward for the Titans, I've said this about a lot of teams. There are your good teams, your mid teams, and your bad teams. When it comes to getting a top tier quarterback in the NFL draft, you have to be a bad team. Some teams, it's just they're always like this mid team where it's like they're not bad, but they're not great. They're like this mid pack, always 6-11, 7-10, and they can't draft those top quarterbacks because they're not that bad. If the Titans want to go into rebuild mode and get a top dog like a Quinn Ewers, Shador Sanders, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., any of those guys, they're going to have to tank a little. And when it comes to the Ravens, I mean, they're in the kind of same boat with the AFC North, like with the Browns and the Bengals. Just keep winning. I think they're fine. They can run the ball. They got a good defense. They'll be good to go for the season. Next up, we got the Vikings, the Bears. Snooze fest. I don't really want to talk about this game that much because I might throw up. Vikings won the game. Cool. Kirk Cousins, wasn't really asked to do much. They ran the ball, threw the ball well. Bears, I believe Justin Fields got hurt. He's got a thumb injury. I don't really know the injury for it. But when it comes to the Bears season, are they content with Justin Fields? That's the big question. Because if they're not content with Justin Fields, I mean, as long as the Panthers keep on losing, they're going to get the number 1 overall pick, which means the Bears get that pick. It kind of comes down to, do they want Caleb Williams, or do they still want to ride with Justin Fields? Going forward, like I said, if the Bears want any future, they need to think about Caleb Williams. And for the Vikings, I mean, they're in rebuild mode at this point. Justin Jefferson, not really rebuild mode, but Justin Jefferson's out for, I believe, like 4 to 6 weeks. Kirk Cousins, he's been rumored to be traded at the trade deadline. He's come out and said he's not going to waive his no trade clause. It's going to be a rough year for the Vikings. It's going to be a rough year. Next up, Snorefest, Panthers, Dolphins. I mean, Panthers, you looked good in the first quarter, and then you fell apart. It's like the first quarter, you were like on cloud fucking 9, and then you forgot who the fuck you were, or remembered who the fuck you were, and you came back to rock bottom. All I'm going to say is, Raheem Mostert is him. Thank you for my fantasy team. Tyreek Hill is him. That dude is electric. And I think the Dolphins have the number 1 offense in yards, touchdowns, first downs, and everything in the NFL. Ultimately, like I said back with the Bears, I think the Panthers at this point just don't give a fuck. I mean, it's basically like a tested year for Bryce Young. Bryce Young is looking good. He's showing tangibles of being a good NFL quarterback. I think people forgot Adam Thielen is a really good wide receiver because he's been balling out in Carolina. But going forward, I mean, Panthers have a realistic shot to get the number 1 overall pick and not even be able to use it. And the Miami Dolphins look like a legit, I'm going to say it, maybe Super Bowl contender. Next up, we got the Colts and the Jaguars. Colts, I believe, are without Anthony Richardson. The one thing that's kind of confusing with the Colts, you are a team with a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew. Don't get me wrong, I love Minshew Mania. But you have a backup quarterback that is throwing the ball 55 times. I don't care if like it's the 3rd, 4th quarter and you're trying to win the game and like, yeah, you got to throw the ball a bunch of times. Where the fuck did Jonathan Taylor go? Like, I'm sorry, I'm going off schedule here, but Jonathan Taylor, 8 carries for 19 yards. What the fuck did you pay him for? Don't get me wrong. I realize you're still 3-3. You have a shot. I mean, well, not really, because this was basically the game for the first place in the division, because now the Jaguars are 4-2, you're 3-3. I realize Tennessee's not looking too hot, and Houston, there, I believe, also now 3-3. So, it's anybody's game in that division. Moving over to the Jaguars side of things, they looked good. Offense got back rolling. Running the ball, throwing the ball, everything looked good. Defense was humming. Clearly, they shut down the run. That defense is an underrated defense, I think. But going forward, I mean, this goes for both teams. It's anybody's game in that division. Speaking of the Texans, I'm going to say it now. I think the whole Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud thing, where everybody was saying Bryce Young is a generational talent, he is so good, he has so much upside. But then on the other hand, people were saying CJ Stroud is the perfect NFL quarterback, he's the guy you want. So why didn't the Panthers, take him? Why are the Panthers with Bryce Young almost like not doing the best, where the Texans are now 3-3? Why didn't the Texans want to take Bryce Young? They were just almost like content with CJ Stroud. The Texans are a very fun team because they can throw the ball, they can run the ball, and they don't really do anything flashy with their offense. D'Amico Ryan's the head coach. He has that defense humming every single day. And I think the Texans are a very fun team to watch this year. Moving over to the Saints side of things, they played an average game. Kind of like with the Colts. The thing with Derek Carr is I expect him to throw the ball a lot, but 50 times, unless the score was like 30 to 40, you shouldn't be throwing the ball that much. When you only put up 13 points and you threw the ball 50 times, there's a problem with the offense. Obviously, the defense played good because you only allowed 20 points. But when it comes to your offense, you need to get something fixed. Because it's like every single week, they're like 1 week they're up, then they're down, then they're up, then they're down. If they were down this week, probably means they're going to win next week. But going forward, looking at the standings, New Orleans, obviously anybody's game in that division. And then looking at down here with Houston, anybody's game. Looking at the Patriots and the Raiders, this was a very fun type of game to watch. Towards the end of the game, that's where it was like everybody was getting excited because as you look down here at the game cast, it got good there towards the end. I mean, it's like the Raiders got a field goal. Everybody thought, okay, maybe this could be it. Then the Patriots got a touchdown there at the end. Then the Patriots got the ball back. And then it was like they just kept backing up and up and up. It was like a very crazy ending. Ultimately, it was a safety. The question I have for the Patriots fans is, do you trust, number one, do you trust Mac Jones being your quarterback? And number two, do you trust Bill Belichick being the head coach / GM? Because the way I look at the Patriots is Bill Belichick, the coach, I feel like he can still coach. He can't be the GM. Like if he was just the coach, I feel like this team would do better. If somebody else was bringing the players in to be on this roster, I feel like they would do better. Now moving on to the Raiders side of things, Jimmy Garoppolo, I believe he got a back injury in the game. He's a little man, my back. But when it comes to the Raiders, I mean, they ran the ball well. That's their identity. They're going to run the ball, screen passes, short passes. The Raiders, they're going to be moving on to somebody else, probably being their quarterback now, because obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to be probably out sometime. At least that's what I heard. But I mean, going forward, the Patriots, like I said, they should just go into rebuild mode. They should just start over. When it comes to the Raiders, I mean, I expected them at the very, very beginning to have an average year. So far, they're doing it. And then check up on the standings. Obviously, like I said, New England, you're doing worse than the Jets. The Jets without Aaron Rodgers. You need to go in rebuild mode. And with Vegas, I mean, like, hey, to be 3-3 right now, I mean, think about it. You win next week, and if Kansas City could lose next week, you are literally right there. This game, I didn't really watch, like, any of it. Let me know in the comments, like, kind of how the game went. 9-26, I kind of saw some of the highlights on Red Zone. That's where I watch my games, NFL Red Zone. And it was an okay game. I mean, Josh Dobbs for the Cardinals, he's putting his heart out there, man. He's just trying to have some fun. Cardinals, I mean, the offense is mid. The defense is okay. Talking about the Rams, I mean, they have the stats to back up kind of what I saw in the highlights. Cooper Kupp went off. Williams went off. Matthew Stafford had an average game. Going forward for these two teams, Cardinals, I think I saw on Twitter, Kyler Murray should be coming back. Kyler Murray should be back. See how that goes with his injury. If he can kind of give you guys some life. And then with the Rams, they have a good defense this year. They usually have a really good defense. Now it's just a good defense. And then the offense, I think that's what kind of, it needs to get correct. Because sometimes it seems like you see the flashes of the offense looking good. And then it's like randomly throughout the game, they just go poo-poo. Going forward for these two teams, Cardinals, they came into the year expecting to have the number 1 overall pick. They're heading there. And then with the Rams, I mean, I'm hoping maybe they can get 8-9, 9-8 kind of record. This game shocked me. Eagles and Jets, like I said earlier with the Browns and the 49ers, no more undefeated teams. Undefeated, no more. Eagles go down mainly because of the Jets defense. They picked off Jalen Hurts 3 times. One of the picks was tipped. The second one, kind of on Jalen. The third one, that's 100% on Jalen. Basically, the game-sealing one where he threw the ball, he stared the linebacker down and just basically said, hey, you want the ball? Okay, here you go. Kind of reviewing both teams. Jets, they had an average game on offense. I mean, you look at the game cast. Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. Like, it was nothing but field goals. And then towards the end of the game, when everybody thought, okay, Eagles got to stop. This game should be over. Eagles, all you got to do is just go get a first down, maybe 2. The game's over. What does Jalen Hurts do? He threw the ball right into a Jets defender. Jets went down, got the touchdown, 2-point conversion. It was basically a wrap there because then it came down to can Jalen Hurts lead us all the way down the field with like basically a minute and a half left. That Jets defense stood up, and it was a wrap from there. Going forward, Eagles are 5-1. They still kind of have a wrap on this division. Dallas, until I see them beat Philadelphia, I won't be saying anything otherwise. And then whenever it comes to the Jets, they're in a position where they can shock some people. The question is, I've seen some reports saying Aaron Rodgers might come back this season. The thing is, how soon? Because if it's not going to be like till week 15, 16, 17, the Jets are going to have to pull some shit out of their asses every single week. Next up, we got the Lions and the Buccaneers. This was actually a fun game to watch. Believe it or not, the Lions are a legit squad in the NFL. The Buccaneers are a good team. Baker Mayfield did not have a good game. He had an off game. It seems like when Buccaneers are playing these bad teams, they do good. When they're playing the bad team or the good teams, they don't do good. Kind of reviewing both teams. Jared Goff, he did his thing. He went off. He did his thing. St. Brown, he went off. The only problem was the Lions, they didn't really run the ball that efficiently. Now, that can attribute to the Buccaneers having a very, very, very good run defense. Overall, through the game, Lions, they had a really good game offensively. Defensively, obviously, you can see they shut the Buccaneers down. Only things I'll really say about this game is Buccaneers. They unveiled the creamsicle uniforms. Beautiful. I think the Buccaneers going forward, they have a good defense. The offense just needs to find their rhythm. And then with the Lions, you can't just expect to beat the Lions anymore. The Lions are not going to be this team on the schedule where it's like, oh, we play the Lions this week. Okay, I'm going to go out on a trip for the whole entire week. I'll see you guys Sunday. Looking at the standings, Lions, they have a full control run over that division. And I've seen some people at the very beginning of the season saying, don't be surprised if the Lions are in the NFC Championship game. And I'm not doubting those people for a second. Looking at the Buccaneers, same thing like I said with all the other teams. Anybody's game for New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay. Carolina, you're kind of just there. 2 more games to go. We got the Giants and the Bills. We're going to fast forward directly to the end of the game. What in the fuck was that no pass interference call? The Bills defender was holding all up on the Giants, Darren Waller's jersey, and no flag. Like, what the fuck? Kind of reviewing the game, Giants had no Daniel Jones, I believe, but I don't think it would have really mattered if they had him anyways. This game was pretty boring when it comes to if you were looking for an offensive battle. The Bills did not look like themselves on offense. It seems like these past few games, they have not looked themselves. I mean, they got the win, but they haven't looked themselves on offense. Defense played good. They stepped up a couple of times. I can't really judge New York that much because they didn't have Daniel Jones, but Saquon Barkley, he got his load. The only thing I really question about this game is, like I said, that pass interference call, or well, no pass interference call. What the hell? Because they called, I believe, almost like the same exact type of pass interference call right before, put the ball at the 1 yard line with no seconds on the clock. And then literally the play that they try to decide to do is a jump past Darren Waller, and Darren Waller is getting pulled because he couldn't get his left arm free. I believe he had his right arm free. He went up for the ball, but he couldn't get his left arm free to be able to put 2 hands up, and that cost him the game. I'm not a Giants or a Bills fan, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Going forward, Giants, they kind of already knew they weren't going to be good this year, I think. If they didn't, they know now. Going forward, get ready for a top 5 pick in the draft. I mean, and then when it comes to Buffalo, you're still good. You already beat Miami 1, so it's like you're 4-2. You're 1 game back in Miami. You got nothing to worry about. You can still make a run. And last up, we got the Cowboys and the Chargers. This was a kind of interesting game. Chargers offense, we expect them to come in here and possibly light up the scoreboard. I thought this game was going to be a shootout, like a 30-40 game. Boy, was I wrong. This game was like a back and forth kind of defensive battle. First quarter, good. After that, nothing. Third quarter, it got interesting. Fourth quarter, that's where it was like all the chips are in. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Cowboys, they're already on top of the moon. They're on cloud 9. They're thinking, oh my God, look, we just beat the Chargers. Bro, Chargers are 2-3. Settle down. It's starting to look like the Chargers are going to have a really rough year this year. Something's going wrong with them. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Staley's fired at the end of the year. But as always, a win is a win. I mean, good win. You got the win. You got the job done. Chargers were not really able to run the ball that well. They were able to throw the ball that well, or throw the ball. Their biggest problem is the offensive line. Offensive line and penalties. They killed them. Because it seems like whenever they were to protect, and Justin Herbert was able to get the ball off, and the ball is moving downfield, they're running, they're taking off. Oh my God, look at this huge 20, 30, 40-yard gain. Holding offense. And then whenever they're not holding, you know how much time Justin Herbert has to throw the ball? Maybe a second and a half. Going forward, Chargers need to fix their offensive line. To kind of recap both teams here in this game. Cowboys, I mean, like I said, good win. Defense is playing good. Offense got better. Nothing really I would say they need to improve on. Maybe running the ball, they need to do a little bit better. But going forward, they're kind of in the same boat as the Eagles. I mean, y'all right there. But until I see Dallas beat Philly, Philly's still the top dog in that division. And then with the Chargers, I mean, it's going to be a rough year. I mean, could they flip it around? They could, but I'm looking at like a 8-9 record. But I'm going to wrap it up there. That's been my full kind of recap of all the games for week 6. Hopefully you guys did go on to enjoy today's video. As always with these kind of game recaps, let me know kind of what you thought or what your thoughts are with all the games down in the comment section down below. Kind of what your favorite team is, how you thought every game went. If there was a certain game you kind of thought went a different way than what I thought, Let me know in the comments. If you wanted to enjoy today's video, it's very much appreciated if you drop a like. Always much appreciated. And if you are brand new to the channel and you're a fan of the content that I am posting here, you're a fan of the videos that I'm posting, or maybe you just stayed to the end of the video, thank you very much. Go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that little notification bell to be notified the second I post. But without further ado, this has been Don Talk Sports. Have a great day. Peace.